Ahoy there, it's Skyward Shield, and we're back with football talks for about a week or so. I am joined by Bill. Say hello, Bill.
Hey!
Today we're doing a kind of a two-part series. This part's going to be shorter than the usual ones, about 30 minutes, because we'll be talking specifically about the free agency stuff. On Tuesday, we should record, or it'll be Wednesday for the viewers. On Wednesday, you'll be seeing us predicting the first round of the draft. And that should be fun.
Yep.
So we'll be talking mostly draft needs, and eventually we'll talk who we want to be picked by which our teams, and for whatever reason. Anyway, so let's jump right in, and we're gonna start with the champions of the Super Bowl, the Patriots. Honestly, I don't know. I think every one of our teams lost big players, but I say the Patriots lost the most in terms of quantity, and they never really gained anybody.
Yep.
Alright, so they lost Darrelle Revis, who went to the Jets.
Yep.
They lost Vince Wilfork, who went to the Texans. Shane Vereen, he went. I don't remember who he went to. It was either him or Ridley, who went to the Giants. One of them went to the Giants.
I think Vereen went to the New York Giants.
Okay, then who did Ridley go to? He went to a team I didn't like.
I'm not sure.
And then Then they lost Brown. What was his first name?
No idea. John Brown? No.
No. He was like a safety or a center back for the Patriots. He was key to their secondary.
Oh, Browner?
Yeah, Browner.
I have no idea who he went to.
Yeah, He went to the Saints, I believe. 'Cause I know a Patriots player went to the Saints, and I think it was him. I'm pretty sure it was him. And they didn't really gain anybody. They used their franchise tag on their kicker. I'm not against that, but it's still a little weird.
They always have that thing where they believe that they can replace anybody. So that's probably the reasoning for that.
Well,
really, the only place that they can't really replace is the quarterback and the kicker, and that's one of the two places that they feel like they can't replace. Koskowski is really good.
yeah, so you know when you said that about they can replace anybody, I thought of Chip Kelly doing that with what he did with the Eagles.
No, the Eagles.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the schedule, Bill, because I really want to mention about the thing I told you about the Thanksgiving game. I want to use that again for Thanksgiving Day.
Oh my God!
Don't say it, Bill. You gotta save it for later. I hope I remember it by then. I should.
Just rewatch this part.
Yeah. So, Bill, among this list, who do you think was the biggest loss?
Who was the biggest loss on that list?
Yeah.
And that is the corner Darrelle Revis. Quite easily the biggest loss of the offseason for any team.
Seriously?
Yes. Darrelle Revis is a lockdown corner, and those are very rare in football. To have one of those is like winning the lottery.
At this point, it's like getting a good quarterback is winning the lottery, so...
Yeah, I mean, but to have a shutdown corner, that takes half the field away from your opponent, really.
Who was the last big-time shutdown corner that was drafted? What was it? Richard Sherman, I guess?
It's Richard Sherman.
Wow, that hard to come by.
And then before that, really no one before Revis.
Wow.
And I would say Ty Law was one of those. He played for the Patriots. I mean, they're few and far between.
Yeah. I will have to agree with you. I think Revis was the biggest loss. I would say Wilfork, but he's also aging, but I'm not too bothered by that because I know where he went to. The only ones that bothered me were Vereen and Ridley, and that would make me think they would go for a an offensive player, because really they have holes to pick, and it could go anywhere. A running back, um, or a defensive player. But I still think they're going with a defensive player. But we'll talk about that in the draft side. But
Yep.
with all these losses, they've gotten a lot of holes to plug now. Which, well, they're the Patriots. They might not even need to draft anybody, because it seems they have someone always better hidden away.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's still Jonas Gray.
Will he
hovering-
get Will he get to see the light, Bill? Honestly, will he get to see the light?
Possibly, yeah.
I want him to I want him to go to Indy again and ruin their day again.
Part of the reason why I think they got rid of Stephen Ridley was because they still have Brandon Bolden, they still have Jonas Gray, and they got LeGarrette Blount. They really don't care about.
Actually, isn't LeGarrette Blount in trouble?
He didn't get suspended,
Oh.
though Le'Veon Bell did.
Yeah, and you know what? That would have been a great opener now, but Le'Veon Bell's gone. So the Steelers are gonna probably go 0-3.
yeah.
Honestly, I'll say this now. I had the Steelers being a ferocious team, but then they lost about as much important players as the 49ers.
The 49ers lost everything.
I know, sure, you got Reggie Bush, but there's just too many holes for one draft to fix.
They did get the most awesome mustache in football, though.
Who?
Their head coach, Jim Tom Sula. He looks like a cop.
Good cop or bad cop? Or mall cop, which mall cop apparently sucked.
Just normal cop with the mustache, the typical cop stash, as they call it.
How did that get popularized? I'm pretty sure it's by like a 60s or 70s cop show.
Most likely.
I want to say I know what show it is. I forget what it is. I know the theme song, but I'm not going to sing it for you. Oh well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's why I would think that they would go for a running back, but I don't know. Maybe Jonas Gray will finally see the light. I want him to. I want him to ruin every other team except for Houston and maybe Dallas, but that's okay. That's for predictions of the schedule, which came out, but we're talking about that when the year starts.
Correct.
So, Bill,
Man.
should we move on to Dallas?
I mean, if you want to.
There's not much to say because the Patriots didn't gain anybody.
They really gained only one player of note, and that's a re-signing of Devin McCourty.
Who was he again?
He's a corner.
Oh, at least they
And-
kept one.
They kept one corner, and at least he's around, and that's having at least a playmaking corner is gonna stop the bleeding in that secondary again.
Yeah. So with that, we'll move to Dallas. Dallas lost only really one big player, but it's a huge loss.
It is.
They lost DeMarco Murray, and honestly, I'm a little disappointed in really both Dallas and DeMarco Murray, and a bit of Des Bryant, because it was really they were put to the point where who do we want more, Des or DeMarco? Who are we going to give more money to? And that's my biggest gripe with these players. They want so much money, even if their talent is worth it. It's really where I can categorize players into two categories. They're in it for the money, or they're in it for the fame or the glory, or you know what I mean. Like they want to win.
Right.
I will give you that example. I've told you this before many times in our regular chit chat calls, Bill. But there's one player when we get to him, he's not with Dallas, that we're gonna get to. But I will say, why did DeMarco Murray and Dez really want so much money? If they knew damn well whoever gets picked, the other one's not coming with them. If they asked the money they wanted, so I shame them both. Go, Bill.
I'll put it this way. I feel like who was more important to the Dallas Cowboys last year?
Honestly, it was a three-headed snake, and you needed all three to go.
Right.
I know what you might say because we've talked about this before.
Yep.
So I want you to say
The
who you think is.
the most important player on that team last year was DeMarco Murray. There's something to be said to have a 2nd and 3 compared to a 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
You know, or a 3rd and 10, or any of that. He gets you yards, which makes everything a reasonable conversion. So that way, Jason Wingans gets involved, and a bunch of other players get involved.
Yeah. And it's that offensive line too, but I don't think we have to worry about them going.
Right.
But despite that, they've kept one player, and they gained one more. That's worth noting. They kept Rolando McClain. They re-signed him for another year, so it's looking like he's going to get a year-by-year contract basis. Which I'm glad they kept him, because at least you've got some good defensive players. And if you get Sean Lee, who doesn't hurt himself by tripping over some dirt.
I swear, Sean Lee is, his bones are made out of glass.
He is the epitome of a glass cannon. Because he's really talented, but he just keeps getting hurt.
Yep.
Right?
He's an accident waiting to happen. This
So,
is what I always say.
Honestly, isn't this his final year? Or
Sean Lee on his contract? I'm pretty sure it is.
If he gets hurt again, he's not coming back. He can't afford to get injured. He's gonna need to have mirrors installed around him to make sure nobody gets him.
Yep. I mean, that's about all he can do nowadays.
Yeah, so but look at it this way: if he can't play and he's gone, Rolando McClain can probably take all of his whole contract and stay until he retires.
I mean, the reason why they only sign him to year deals, I feel, is they're afraid he's gonna retire on them, you know, like he did to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah. But if he really gets that, he looks like he's getting that drive again, so if he can keep that drive with him, he might want to stay a little longer.
Yeah.
So, that really depends. He's a huge X factor, but I would also say Sean Lee is too, because they're going to fight for the job, maybe.
I mean, he's almost like an addition, because he wasn't on the team last year, you know?
Yeah, he was retired. Then he just came back, and then just really... I had a good feeling about him when I saw him, and yeah, it looks like I was right.
And Sean Lee. Sean Lee feels like an addition as well, because
he keeps going and coming back.
He just keeps reappearing. He's like Harry Houdini. He kind of disappears out of sight and then he pops back in and does some sort of crazy thing, and then disappears out of sight again.
You know what's funny when you said that? They said sometimes I'll hear that commentary from a sports commentator in a football game with Dallas when Romo does the impossible.
Right.
That would have happened again if we got that pass to count, but that's another.
I mean,
we've already spoken on that.
To be fair, they should have never even been in that game in the first place.
Bill, to you, but yeah, I know, Bill. Really, I still think Detroit should have played Seattle, but it happened. It still happened.
So I mean.
By the way, are you still? I'm gonna be serious. I never asked you this, but I want to ask now. Are you still upset by that game?
I still hate the referee. I wish he never called another game ever. Do you know Peter Morelli reminds me of Lurch from
Lurch?
The Addams Family?
Who's Lurch again? I have
the butler that looks like Frankenstein.
Okay.
He reminds me of Lurch. Peter Morelli is Lurch, and I despise him. I despise his whole crew that called that game with him, and I despise the NFL for being like, "Oh, our bad." Get a real crew.
So, yeah, maybe we should hope that rumor of the first female referee will be there. Make it happen. It's 2015. The Spurs have their first female coach ever.
Yeah, really, it's the first female coach in all of professional sports.
Yeah, so make it happen.
professional male sport.
Yeah. So that's why I still say, make it happen. Make it happen, NFL. It's 2015.
I mean, it doesn't matter who teaches the game as long as the game is being taught correctly and coached correctly. Who cares?
Yeah. But anyway, so let's move on to the audition. The only one I could think of, there was that guy. You tell him, Bill. You know more about him than me.
What?
Greg
Hardy?
Greg Hardy. Remind the audience of what he did.
He basically kicked the crap out of his girlfriend, threatened to kill her, and basically was suspended the entire year.
Yeah. How he's still able to play, I won't understand.
Well, technically he is technically suspended for the first 10 games of this year.
So his suspension's still going, but I don't know, man. Anyway, so I would say we should move on to... Oh, no, actually, there is one more person.
Yep.
Darren McFadden from the Oakland Raiders. I don't know how to feel about this guy, because I've heard he was a dud in Oakland.
He has injury concerns, but when he's healthy, he can be a DeMarco Murray-esque runner. He's not DeMarco Murray. He's got a little bit more elusiveness in his running style, but he is the real deal. He's definitely a good running back. It's just he played behind a terrible offensive line in Oakland.
Okay. So he's basically like Arian Foster. He's good when he's not hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now I would say we should move to Detroit next, but there are a lot of rumors about you know who, Bill. You know who we're talking about. I think you might be a little okay with it if he leaves a certain NFC North team.
And that is?
Adrian Peterson.
I'd be definitely happy to see that he is not in the NFC North. Because then that means the Minnesota Vikings really don't want to win.
And, he doesn't really want to play with them anymore. I don't blame him. They threw him under the bus.
I mean, he kind of threw himself under the bus. That's more of the thing.
But Minnesota just really can support. They try to do it too. So
yeah.
Plus, I really don't want him to play for them either.
I mean, at a point, they were gonna let him play during the public outcry, and then the public outcry happened, and then they didn't. Then they changed their mind.
Yep. So he would love to play for Dallas or Houston. He wants to play in Texas for his final years.
I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's gonna get traded there either.
They don't want to trade him. They want him to stay.
The Vikings hold all his rights on the contract, and they can just basically say, "Oh, if you don't want to play another year again, perfectly fine."
Yeah. But I don't know. I would say, is this worth the controversy? But seeing as Dallas acquired Greg Hardy, clearly they don't care.
And I mean, what does that really say about your team?
They really want to win.
That you're willing to accept all these negative influences on your team.
I don't know how to feel about that, really.
And really,
well,
what's the worst possible thing that you can do with Dez Bryant is put him around a bunch of negative influences.
Yeah, and he's already much of a negative as is.
Indeed.
Really, it's Romo who's the only positive one?
I mean, Tony Romo's angelic persona can only carry the team so far.
Well, somebody needs to emerge and come out as positive to support it, I guess. Maybe it's Darren McFadden. I don't know.
I mean, I think he's pretty bitter after all the years he's spent in Oakland. Good Lord. Anyone would be bitter after you spent 6 years of your career in Oakland.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, if Oakland does well with the draft and gets good players, like I have them getting Amari Cooper. I'll tell you that much, since it's not a team we care for.
Right.
So, imagine Amari Cooper with
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr and Latavius Murray. I see another big three.
I mean,
just got to get a good offensive line.
Oakland is going to be a much improved team, I think. But that's for later on.
I'll just say they're going to take advantage of Peyton Manning's retirement. Well, every team in that division will. They're going to bully the crap out of the Broncos. And I'm going to love that. I don't like Denver.
Right.
Nothing against the city. It's against the team. Let's get that out of the way.
Just like me in Buffalo.
You don't mind. You're okay with them now because, well,
yeah,
kind of.
I mean, big man that cries at everything that happens, Rex Ryan's there.
But Schwartz is gone.
Schwartz is gone.
So
feels so good to say that.
Schwartz is gone. Oh, like, do you need Schwartz? They got Rex Ryan. But look at it this way: they're never going to draft an offensive player again.
Yep, man, they're going to lose consistently to the Patriots because of it.
Yeah, but let's move on to the Lions, Bill.
Ooh, the Lions.
This is mostly your spot, so go ahead and talk about the losses. Though I'm going to talk about one player with that example I mentioned earlier. So go nuts, Bill.
All right. So the player that is the least impactful that we lost is George Johnson, a defensive end. He made a slight impact on the team, nothing gigantic, but he was still a force on the outside on the defensive line.
Yeah.
The bigger impact of a loss, well, I mean, if you call, losing a bunch of fumbles a big impact, Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush was subtracted from the team. He was terminated off the team.
Hey, let's be fair. Let's be fair. DeMarco Murray fumbled even more than Reggie Bush this year, clearly.
But yeah, I mean, in the past 2 years combined, though, Reggie Bush had his fair share of fumbles, and it kind of irked me.
Yeah, but get to the big one, Bill. The one I want to rant about.
The biggest loss is our defensive tackle, Ndamukong Suh.
Tell us why he left, though.
He left because he's pretty much a wuss about cold weather. He's a wuss about not wanting to try to win any Super Bowls. He would rather finish second in his division every year with the Miami Dolphins because he'd rather have $60 million than 58.
Yeah, that bothers me. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I categorize players into two spots. You either you play the game for the glory or for the money. And I'm gonna give you another person who is maybe, I wouldn't say equal talent, because Bill, you know who I'm gonna use. Who am I talking about? Give me JJ. You would say, Josh, you're a hypocrite. He got $100 million.
But he also he's staying with the same team.
And the team offered it. He didn't ask. They offered it. Because they said, your talent is worth this much. And some people still say, he's worth much more than that. And I could agree.
To be fair, both Miami and Detroit's numbers were similar. Detroit's was a $100 million contract, and like 60 or 58 million guaranteed, and Miami's was $100 million, but 60 million guaranteed.
Yeah, but my point is, Watt doesn't care for the money as much. I mean, he didn't even know what to do with it. He Googled it. What do I do with all this money? And he bought.
Yeah.
He does good things. He's always doing good things. He bought his mom a house. He constantly goes to charities. He helps out, and he goes see injured or little kids. He's a good guy.
Right. Yeah.
He's doing it for just to be a good person and give back. But he also shows it on the field. And even every day, you could think his contract would go up because he keeps doing more things that you think a defensive end shouldn't do. All he needs to do is kick a field goal, and he'll score it in almost every possible way, save for a punt return.
Right.
But you're never putting Watt in a punt return. Never. But
Nope.
But go to Sue. He's only in it for the money. He doesn't care about winning the damn Super Bowl like Watt or the Texans would. Or every team should, I should say.
Right.
He just wants the money.
Just wants the cash money.
There are some enigmas who I can't tell who wants what, like Dez. Dez at first glance looks like he wants all the fame and glory on himself. But then you see he's like, I want a lot of money. I can't really pinpoint him on there, but my point is I don't like Sue because, yes, you're about as talented to rival Watt to a degree, but you just want the fucking money. That bothers me. Sure, you could argue you're worth that money, but still, the fact that that's a standard for you to join a team is just pathetic.
I mean, he's worth it, but he's also not worth it. He crippled the Miami Dolphins. He crippled a dolphin. That's like crippling a endangered tortoise. It's just not right.
Put it this way. Next year, Tannehill's contract is going to be up. And what if he does really well and wants a lot of money?
And they're not going to be able to re-sign him, so they would lose their quarterback because of a crippling contract.
And they've already lost a lot of players, too. They lost
due to it.
Yeah, they lost Mike Wallace. He went to Minnesota, I believe. Which, I know that irks you, but... Well.
I don't care. I mean, to be fair, I'm sort of rooting against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
So it's kind of enjoyable for me to watch their team lose a bunch of people.
Getting Sue is like a quick boost now. It's gonna be good for the first year, but afterwards you're gonna start to see the side effects, and it will start at quarterback.
I'm gonna call it the Albert Hainsworth effect.
That's a thing?
No, just signing a player to a ridiculously stupid contract, then getting no production out of said player or the team. Hainsworth signed a $100 million deal with the Washington football team, and he got cut after a year.
Alright, so Bill, all that said, let's get back to Detroit. Talk to me about these losses. We've already talked Sue, so... Oh wait, actually you did talk about all three, so...
Yep, I talked all three.
Okay, so we'll talk about who they gained.
Okay, so Detroit re-signed Rashean Mathis, a really good veteran corner.
That is good, that's important.
We signed a young and up-and-coming defensive end to replace George Johnson in Tyron Walker. We signed a kicker that can actually kick a field goal, Matt Prater.
Yeah.
And the biggest acquisition of the entire offseason was a trade for Haloti Ngata from the Baltimore Ravens.
Who are probably going to go to shit.
I mean, Haloti Ngata is an older version of Ndamukong Suh, basically.
Yeah. Bill...
But
no.
minus the suspensions that he'll get every year.
Yeah, and stepping on quarterbacks.
Or just stepping on players in general, period.
Yeah. So, I'm okay with the Ngata thing, but didn't they lose a pick because of it?
They lost like a 6 or 7.
Oh, okay, that's not that bad.
It wasn't like...
Hold on a second, Bill. Sorry about that. We're going to continue now. You were talking about Haloti Ngata, Bill, so continue on.
Yeah, it's a big trade for the Detroit Lions. it really solidifies the issues on the offensive line. The defensive line. I said offensive line. Oh my god. Okay.
Okay.
My brain, it doesn't work.
Okay, Bill. So now I'm going to ask you this. I know we're not supposed to talk about this, but let's get a sneak peek. What type of player do you think the Detroit Lions will draft?
To be fair, I feel it's going to be on the defensive side of football.
Even though they need a center, they probably get that in the second round.
I feel like Shane Ray is going to drop in the draft because of his toe issue.
Ooh, and I would have to factor in that because you know who I have Shane Ray going to? He's gonna go very early and go to Atlanta because they need defense about as much as Dallas does.
Yep.
But
I mean,
yeah, I can see that might happen now. I'm assuming that came from his pro day or something.
he had the toe injury for a little bit, and
Oh.
teams are reluctant to pick him because of the toe injury concerns, and he elected to not have surgery on it. So that's another factor. But for me, I look at it this way. Shane Ray is a player I would want to have on my team, and it wouldn't really matter to me for those concerns, and there is talk that he is going to slide down the draft.
How far will he still be a first-round pick?
They said mid to late first round.
Well, okay, he's a defensive end. You're saying that side, but to me, I'm still going defensive tackle because Nada reminds me of the same position as Wilfork, who we'll be getting to next. They're both older. They can't play all 4 downs. You know what I mean? They'd be like a 2-down type, and then they switch for the 3rd. Because, well, they're supposed to... I don't know. Do you get where I'm coming at? Like, basically, they're meant to stop the run, and usually if you make them 3rd and 10, they're going to throw. You can switch them out.
I mean, to be fair, Haloti Nada, I feel, will be a impact player. I just feel like they're going to have a rotation. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll have the rotation, but from the 2nd to 3rd down. Unlike if you got, let's say, what's a good... I can't think of a defensive tackle for a good example. But
Sue would play all 3 downs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some like Wilfork and what's his name again? Nada will not be able to go all 3, maybe. Or they could, but it would not be wise.
I mean, I'm totally down with that. I'm totally cool with that. I can see them drafting a bunch of stuff on defense. The offense really needs very little work.
A center and a running back.
A center and a running back, but even the running back position, I'm pretty comfortable with Joyke Bell and
they could get
Theo
one
Riddick.
late and build him up, but I don't know. The running back selection isn't as good as they say, in my opinion. So you could get one and just build him up, make it competitive and make them fight for who will go first. Because it's like with Bill O'Brien making a competitive team against each other for the sake.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But so I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm okay that they kept Prater, which is needed, and Rasheed Mathis. I like him a lot. In fact, if we are lucky enough to get enough people, which Bill, you need to get on that for a fantasy team, he would be one of my defensive people to consider. However, you know who I'm picking first. It's not even a quarterback. I'm gonna get J.J. Watt.
Most of the time on fantasy football, they have you pick defenses as a totality thing.
What does totality mean?
Meaning you would have the entire total defense and special teams of that team.
Oh, so I'll just take Houston's.
Yep.
So speaking of Houston, Bill, shall Should we continue on with Houston?
Yep. Let's continue on.
Continuing on, as you say.
Oh, man.
So, Houston lost actually quite a lot of good people. We'll start small.
Good.
They lost Kendrick Lewis, who would have rounded up the middle, like, midfield with one of the additions we just gained. But the moment we gained him, he wanted out. Again, it's that fucking ego. He would have been the number 3. You would have had 3 punches or 3 strikes, you're out type of thing with the midfield players. But it's okay with Kendrick Lewis. He went to Baltimore, which bothers me. Which, why'd you do that? You could have gone to a team that's likable. Damn birds. Anyway, they went. We also lost Chris Myers, a old center. I was hoping they wouldn't let him go, so they could have drafted a center this year and let him train under Chris Myers.
Yeah.
But what can you do? And then we lost Brooks Reed, who went to Atlanta. That bothers me. I liked Brooks Reed. He was good. And now, this is what bothers me, because he left. Originally, okay, I'll say the last person. We lost Andre Johnson as well. That's the biggest loss that we got. And he went to Indy.
I told you that was a possibility.
And I hate it. I still hate it. So now, basically, I think Houston's getting pushed to a point where they gotta get defensive players to counter the bully. Because Indy is a huge bully in the AFC South, like how Green Bay was in the NFC North like years ago when Detroit also sucked and every other team sucked.
Right.
So now I think Houston originally wanted to get a wide receiver since they lost Andre, but now with Brooks Reed gone, and considering that not only did Indy get Andre Johnson, but they also got Frank Gore, who I think is not as good as people are hyping him up to be, but he's probably playing with a chip on his shoulder too, so that might help.
I mean, Frank Gore is also older now. He's 32, 33-year-old running back, and
yeah. So, with that said, the players they kept were Akeem Dent, who showed improvement at the end of the year. They also kept Ryan Mallett, because originally he had only a year left in his contract. They also gained Brian Hoyer, which bothers me, but I know Bill O'Brien wants every former New England Patriot player he can.
Yep.
We're a poor man's Patriots. That's what it feels like.
Yep.
But we also got Raheem Moore from the Broncos. I don't know why they kept him, or why they didn't keep him. So he's the reason why Kendrick Lewis left for Baltimore. Stupid idea. But Raheem Moore's good. He picked off Andrew Luck a couple times. I think 2 times in the same game, maybe.
Yep.
So yeah, it's good to have him, especially against Andrew Luck.
Yep.
We also got Cecil Shorts III from Jacksonville Jaguars, who will probably, I don't know if he'll play slot receiver, but he'll probably play similar to Deshaun Jackson from the Washington football team.
Right.
Which, that's okay. Small, speedy, hard to catch wide receiver is always nice for a team to have, if you can get him in the proper space. And finally, Vince Wilfork from the New England Patriots.
Yep.
So here's how I see it. We got Raheem Moore to counteract Andre Johnson, and Vince Wilfork to counteract Frank Gore. But with that said, it looks like, I know we shouldn't be talking about this, but it seems Houston's being pushed to getting an outside linebacker with the loss of Brooks Reed, because Brooks Reed is a big loss. And factor in that Jadeveon Clowney is an X factor, and if he's a dud, you have no good outside linebackers aside from Whitney Merciless. That's not good. That is not good at all.
Nope.
But honestly, if you have Clowney, you can only have 2 outside linebackers, right?
Right.
So,
Well,
or what?
to be fair, if you wanted to, you could draft 3 outside linebackers and convert one to middle linebacker.
That could be possible. I really think they should just stick with Merciless and have Clowney. But I can understand why you might want to get another one just in case Clowney is a dud, which I don't think he will be. I think people are just saying that to get more attention to themselves. Is that right, NFL media? I swear, every month there's a video talking about Jadeveon Clowney's health. I say, will he be able to play well? So, Bill, share me your thoughts on the losses that we got.
Really, to be fair, I think the biggest and most glaring one is going to be Andre Johnson.
Yeah, and originally we would have gotten. I'm gonna come on and say it. I've said it before. Devontae Parker. I would think he would last long enough for them to pick him.
And I really think I feel like a lot of this draft upcoming is going to be based off of what they lost on offense with Andre Johnson. And Andre Johnson is a heart and soul type player for your team.
Yeah,
you know?
and some people say he's currently the greatest. Watt isn't yet because he hasn't done as much time. I can understand that. So it's really hard to. He is like, you know how Detroit lost the last of the 0-16 team. We lost the last of the original 2002 team.
Thank God.
Hey.
No, I meant with my own 16 team.
All right, if you say so. So, yeah, I really want them to get a wide receiver like Devontae Parker. Or actually, I want him specifically. But with the way the Colts are playing, they're really doing it just to deal with the Colts.
Right.
That really, now I understand how the other teams from the NFC or AFC East feel, because they have to basically draft what it can take to counteract New England, which, well, it always fails. But I'm seeing a chance for Indy to crumble and give it up for 1 year or two. I really want them to lose it next year. Hold on a second. I will have to be right back again. Okay, I'm back. This should be the last time, hopefully. What were we talking about?
We were talking about how I feel like Andre Johnson was the biggest subtraction, and how he's going to that loss is going to basically shape their draft.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's even worse considering Indy picked him up. It's not like the Seahawks picked him up. I think they actually tried to get him.
Yep.
But he wanted to go with Frank Gore. They were a two-man deal, essentially. And Indy wanting that damn trophy, which... You know what bothers me? They are not giving... I'm okay with them maybe getting rid of... What's the coach's name again?
Chuck Pagano?
Yeah, they didn't give him a contract extension or nothing like that. Even though they've been going to the playoffs each and every year, and last year they were at the AFC Championship. Apparently that's not good enough to give you an extension. Can you just scream egotistic? We have such high standards. You're gonna make the Packers feel insecure with your big ass ego hogging the floor.
I mean, Jim Irsay is not exactly the most subtle type of person.
Yeah, but like I said, I swear that high standard just really makes the Packers fans feel insecure. Watch what happens when the Colts score a touchdown when they're losing at their place, and it's only a 2-point difference, and they're booing their own fans, or they're booing their own team.
Yeah.
So, Bill, what about the games that they've got? Do you think it balances it maybe a little bit?
The game, I think it does balance it. They got a really good corner in Raheem Moore. But I think the biggest and best gain that they had was Vince Wilfork. And for the simple fact is he brings that winning pedigree with him.
And he's a veteran, so the veteran character is not lost entirely.
He oozes winning is basically all he does.
That tends to happen when you get a Patriot player.
Exactly. Unless you're Brian Hoyer, who was the backup. if you get a starter from the New England Patriots, typically they achieve a lot of great success, and
And
they
he was a
just know how
starter.
to win.
He's a starter, right?
Yep, he won 2 Super Bowls with them.
On his rookie year and his last year with them.
Yep,
So it looks like he'll retire a Texan, which I'm okay with. But
yep.
there is another player, Nate Washington from the Titans, but I don't know what he can do. I'm pretty sure he's just there in case of an emergency.
Right.
But honestly, I will still say the Pats lost the most because they didn't gain anything really in return. Like the Texans at least got Vince Wilfork, and the Lions at least got Haloti Ngata, and well, I'll be fair. Dallas at least kept Rolando McClain, and Darren McFadden. We could be wrong. People were really assuming because, like you said, you actually changed my perspective on him a little bit. You were right because he played with Oakland, the bad Oakland.
Yep. I mean,
It's one thing if you get yourself injured in open field, but if you're gonna get injured at the line, it's not entirely your fault.
right.
But anyway, I think that is all we can really talk about for now. Do you have anything else to note, Bill?
Nothing much. It's been a nice free agency period. A lot of surprises. A lot of really crazy stuff happened. But it was an interesting time.
I'm amazed. I did not think we'd go the whole way through without mentioning that big trade between Buffalo and Philly, which we mentioned both teams, but we didn't talk about that specifically.
I mean, you just cannot go any time without talking about Philadelphia and their trades.
Yeah, because like old Chip Kelly doesn't. I'm not sure he really cares who he keeps or loses.
I swear to God, Chip Kelly needs to go to one of the preseason games wearing a cowboy hat, because that's what his team feels like right now. It's like the Wild West. He just goes in with a gunslinger mentality. He's like, I can put any bullet into my gun and shoot you. I mean,
Well, and people call him a genius for it, but we'll see whether he really is one. I don't know, but that's another story. So next time, which will be up, this part will probably be up on Sunday, and then on Wednesday, we'll be talking about the draft needs and our first round picks. We don't have time to talk about every pick, and Houston has the second most amount of picks. They've got 10. Bill,
yep.
we've got 10. That's
Damn.
awesome. So we got a lot of room to draft, or we could trade the picks for later if we need them.
I mean, typically teams with a lot of picks like Houston will continue to stockpile.
So that's good. We're going to stockpile and we're going to take over. So that's going to be fun. We'll see you guys later. It's time to say goodbye, Bill.
Peace.